Back on HQ, Florida State, first power conference team to go unbeaten and miss the CFP. But they're going to have a handful of players who could go first round in the draft in a couple of months. Keon Coleman, Jared Verse, and then Jordan Travis, really good college quarterback. We'll see where he ends up going. Might be a day 3 pick for Florida State. Look at this guy. Bryant McFadden, second-round pick out of FSU back in 2005. Went on to win a couple of titles with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And he joins us now, along with Ryan Wilson, to talk some of these Florida State draft prospects. Let's start with Jared Verse, BMAC. Florida State hasn't had a top 15 pick since Jalen Ramsey back in 2016. Is Verse going to be that guy this year?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. When you talk about his potential, his ability to put consistent pressure on quarterbacks, that's his specialty. He really showcased, an array of talents when it comes to being a great defensive player, not just putting pressure on quarterbacks, but also his ability to be impactful in the running game as well. He's not a one-trick pony. He's really excelled in a Florida State uniform throughout his last few seasons there in Tallahassee, and he's arguably one of the best pass rushers that will be available in this upcoming draft. When I look at his potential pro-like career, Ryan, he reminds me a lot of Tamba Ali. I think he's more athletic than Tamba Ali was coming out of Penn State, first rounder by the Kansas City Chiefs, I think in 2006. But just the strength, the ability to utilize his hands in pass rushing moments, not to mention his ability, as I mentioned, with his strength, being able to bull rush opposing offensive tackles. He showcased that over and over again while in Tallahassee, and I think he will hear his name called sooner than later in the first round.
Yeah, Ryan, what do you think about that comp, and where do you have him going in your latest mock?
First thing I want to say, I can't believe you led with the fact that FSU went undefeated and didn't make the college football playoffs. That was stone cold, Chris. The good news is, Hassel, the #1 rated cornerback coming out of high school, Bryant McFadden. So you got to end on a positive note when you talk about BMAC. In terms of what this means for Jared Verse, I think he's going to be a top 10 pick. And I went back and watched all his sacks this morning, BMAC. He's my #1 rated edge rusher as I go through these guys one last time. Obviously, Dallas Clark's up there, Leotu Latu's up there. But you talk about the bull rush, and 2 sacks stuck out to me from last fall. He had 11 total. The Florida game and the Louisville game, and I've never seen this, or I haven't seen it a lot. He bull rushed the left tackle in both instances, all the way back to the quarterback. Okay, that happens. He used the left tackle to tackle the quarterback without doing anything else. That's how strong he is, but he is more than just a bull rusher. He's great against the run. You see his ability to win on the edge there against Wake Forest. I think it's a top 10 pick, Chris, and I like the Tamba Ali old school comp. I went with Jacksonville's Josh Allen, but I think that he has that sort of power and that sort of speed. That's the Louisville sack right there. My goodness. That man has a family. So I love what we saw this year from Jared Verse and last year. And as BMAC noted, he transferred from small school Albany. No stars coming out, and has made himself a ton of money, as we like to say, after 2 good years in Tallahassee.
BMAC, what do you think of that fit with the Denver Broncos?
I love the fit. Now, when you look at the Denver Broncos, will they stay put at the 12th spot, guys, or will they make a move to try to go get their future quarterback, for their organization? Because clearly that's a big need for them. But if they stay put, when you factor in their division, when you're chasing the Pat Mahomes of the world, Justin Herbert with the Chargers with a new coaching staff there under Coach Harbaugh, you better find guys that can put pressure on those quarterbacks, because if you do not, good luck in thinking you're going to be successful when you're playing in the AFC West.
Back around the time BMAC was playing at Florida State, they used to pump out great wide receivers all the time. Peter Warrick, Anquan Bolden, Javon Walker. How about Keon Coleman, Bryant?
When you talk about one of the more multi-talented guys that will be available in this year's draft, Keon Coleman is that guy. Keon Coleman could start on the basketball team for Florida State. Heck, he could have started on the basketball team for Coach Izzo when he was at Michigan State. That's the type of talent he is. I mean, he's a guy who's 6'4". He looks the part. When I first saw him in person, the first game against LSU, I thought he was a defensive end, Ryan. He has that type of body build. But the thing I like about Keon Coleman, he's 6'4", 215 plus, but he moves like a little guy. How many times have we seen a 6'4" wide receiver return punts? and do so in a very, very high, in a high level, in a high rate. There you go right there, right on time. That punt return against Miami that set up a great opportunity for Florida State. And you talk about being able to win 50-50 opportunities. That's who Keon Coleman is. I love his ability to create space when he's running his routes, not to mention just being able to be strong at the point of attack when catching difficult passes like we see there on the highlight. So me personally, I think he will hear his name called early as well. And when you factor in potential places he could go, there are quite a few teams that could use a guy like Keon Coleman to improve their passing game.
5th-ranked wide receiver, according to CBSSports.com. And as Bryant said, I mean, he could do all kinds of other things as well. Ryan, what would be a good fit? Where do you have him going right now?
I'm going to the Eagles, and upon reflection, and by that I mean having Rick Spielman get in my ear about it, the Eagles have other needs on the defensive side of the ball, but they only have 2 wide receivers currently in the roster, and those 2 wide receivers are very good, and Devonta Smith and A.J. Brown, and that offense certainly sputtered, and that's why they had to sort of re-jump the offensive coordinator position. So perhaps things look differently. Perhaps they target a wide receiver, if not in round 1, maybe they circle back in round 2. But to follow up what B-Mac was talking about with Keon Coleman, towards the second half of the season, he wasn't quite as productive, and part of that was that Jordan Travis wasn't quite as accurate throwing to him down the field. They love getting the ball in the screen game and letting him do his punt return left, punt return right routine. As B-Mac noted, he's a high point catch machine. Had 2 drops all season. Both came in the last game that he played against Louisville, and both were incredibly tough catches. So he catches everything thrown his direction. I love him. I think he's going to go after pick 15, but before the end of the first round. This is a deep wide receiver class, and there needs elsewhere. But it's hard not to love what he's accomplished after transferring from Michigan State and putting up big numbers, certainly to start the season, and then showing his ability to high point catch the ball throughout the entirety of the season.
Florida State going to have a bunch of other guys drafted as well. Trey Benson at the running back position. But B-Mac, let's go to Jordan Travis, one of 14 quarterbacks invited to the Combine next week in Indy. Not sure if he's going to be able to be ready for that, coming off that broken leg. What do you project for him at the next level?
Tough situation to be in, Chris, because if Jordan Travis was healthy to participate in the Combine coming up in a matter of a few days, I think he would easily run a 4.4. Extremely fast, quick, ultimate competitor, and just had one of the more devastating ends to his collegiate career. Of course, an injury that we all had an opportunity to witness. But I think Jordan Travis is based on the injury, I think he still potentially could be a day 3 guy, mid-day 3 guy. And I think he goes into a situation where he gets an opportunity to learn from maybe a veteran presence at the quarterback position. And that's great for his development as he moves forward. When you talk about a guy who has really evolved to be a consistent passer in college football, I don't know if there's another quarterback who's done more over the last 2 years than Jordan Travis. From transferring from Louisville to Florida State to having issues playing the quarterback position, thinking about potentially changing his position to wide receiver. In comes Mike Norvell, and Mike Norvell said, no, you're going to stay put, you're going to be our quarterback, and you're going to do an outstanding job. And he just flourished under the tutelage of Mike Norvell. So I think he's going to, have to wait his turn based on the injury. And it's unfortunate because, as I stated, guys, if he was healthy, he would have had an unbelievable finish to his career collegiately, and then going to the Combine just to put on an outstanding athletic performance. That would have been Jordan Travis, but because of the injury, potentially maybe mid-day 3 guy, and go into a situation maybe like the Philadelphia Eagles, who could use a backup quarterback moving forward. Maybe the New York Giants, who knows? But I think that's the destination for Jordan Travis, primarily because of his injury.
And B-Mac's right, Chris, in that he's overcome a lot, and that's what you want to see when you talk about the quarterback position, because at the end of the day, you can have all the athleticism in the world. If you don't have that confidence, you're not going to be a very good quarterback. And I love what Jordan Travis was able to accomplish. I think B-Mac's right. Day 3 sounds about right. I like him in the 5th round, knowing that he has that injury. And in a lot of ways, he reminds me of Hendon Hooker's journey. Hendon Hooker tore his ACL late in the season for Tennessee. Ended up going in round 3 in a backup role situation behind Jared Goff in Detroit. Maybe that's the path that Jordan has to take. But he made huge strides. Only had 2 interceptions last year. We saw the graphic. One was a terrible throw and a screen pass against LSU in the first game, and then one was he was just late on an end to Keon Coleman against Duke. We've seen every quarterback on planet Earth make that mistake and be late on the ball, but he has great arm strength. He's athletic, as B-Mac noted. Wasn't asked to run a ton, but when he did, he was effective doing it. And I thought he got better as his career went on in terms of reading defenses and making good decisions with the football. We saw that with the limited interceptions, only 2 last year. Unfortunately, he got injured, but I think maybe this is best case scenario for him, because he'll go to a place that understands he can't start right away. You have to be in a backup role and learn the offense without the pressure of having to start on day one.
All right, Ryan Wilson and Bryant McFadden looking at some Florida State potential draft picks here as we get within about 2 months of the NFL draft. And Ryan, along with Rick Spielman, joined by Mike Renner on the latest With the First Pick podcast. Each one of them picks 5 prospects to watch at the Combine next week in